I'd like to extend a warm welcome to members of the Council, officers and members of the public and press in attendance at this Council meeting of the 26th of February 2026. Welcome to those who may be watching the meeting live on YouTube. I am Councillor John Sleep, Chairman of the Council. Please note that this meeting is being broadcast live on the Council's website and on YouTube. It will remain available for a minimum of 12 months. Please switch any mobile devices, including laptops, to a silent setting for the duration of the meeting. If the fire alarm rings, please can everyone leave the room immediately and use the nearest signed fire exit. Please go to the fire assembly point, which is located at the bottom of the car park by the garages. We will take apologies. Chief Executive, do you have any apologies to report?
Apologies for absence have been received from Councillors Brand, Steve Clark, Hayward and Young. Are there any other apologies?
Right, we will take agenda item 1, minutes. Do members agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 15th of December 2025 as a correct record?
Agree.
Thank you. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. All members of the Council have been granted the necessary dispensations to speak and vote on the schemes of members' allowance, the annual budget and council tax. Councillor Wade has declared his employment by Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Service a precepting authority for its transparency. Are there any other declarations of interest in connection with an agenda item for this meeting? Councillor Davis.
Declare an interest in item 5. I work for a taxi company and I don't know if I've got to declare an interest on the Town Council referendum. No, okay, just item 5. Thank you.
Okay. Agenda item 3, Chairman's announcements. Since I last reported to you on the civic engagements undertaking, I have attended a number of events throughout our district and also Hampshire. On Thursday, the 15th of Jan, I had the honour of representing the district at the official opening ceremony by Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal of the new Smart Centre, South Coast Institute of Technology at Southampton University. On Sunday, the 18th of Jan, I attended the Blue Apple Theatre, which had great performances from a large team of special needs actors and singers. The entertainment was made even more special by the Hanger Farm Group, local to us, who took part. January the 27th, the Vice Chairman represented the district at the Mayor of Havant's Holocaust Memorial Day commemoration. The service was focused on bridging generations and was led by Honorary Alderman Lee Turner. Councillor Penny reported that this provided a very moving account of life before, during and after the Holocaust. On the 29th of January, I visited Tools for Self-Reliance, based in Netley Marsh, where I was given a tour of the facilities and had the opportunity to meet some of the volunteers. The organisation now supports training facilities across Africa, as well as supplying toolkits for our armed forces veterans, retraining for jobs in the community. On February the 2nd, our leader and I attended the funeral with full military honours of veteran Jim Justice. This was a very well-supported event with many of our armed forces attending, a great service and a special and well-deserved send-off. Also on the 2nd of February, I represented the district, the New Forest Disability AGM, which was well supported by their volunteers, officers and residents. On the 11th of January, I attended East Hants Civic Day held at Treloar School and College, a massive development for 180 disabled young people, providing sensory and educational development. On February the 14th, I represented the district at the official opening of Merciod Lodge Care Home in Marchwood, where I had the privilege of cutting the ribbon. We were welcomed to the very impressive state-of-the-art complex and were provided a guided tour with the Managing Director, Tim Buckley. I attended the Town Mayor of New Milton's charity afternoon tea party this past Saturday, 21st of Feb. It was good to see this event, held to raise vital funds for the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Air Ambulance, so well attended. A great event. Finally, a date for your diary. I will be holding my civic service on Sunday the 19th of April at 3 p.m. at St Win's Church, Totton. And I would be delighted if you could support this important event. An invitation will be sent to you via email this week. Before moving into the next item, I would like to remind members of the procedures for this evening's budget meeting, given the volume of businesses we have on the agenda. Agenda item 10, the report of Cabinet dated 18th of February, has 2 budget items. We will consider the Housing Revenue Account Budget 2026-27 item first, followed by the medium-term financial plan and annual budget 2026-27, which is when the budget debate will take place. These items, along with the council tax for 2026-27, require recorded votes. We will use the electronic voting system for these recorded votes. When the vote is concluded, the outcome of the voting will be announced by the chairman and it will be displayed on the screens in the chamber on the meeting broadcast. The voting of individual members will then be displayed. Please can I ask members for their cooperation and patience during the meeting to enable the business to be conducted smoothly and efficiently. We'll take agenda item 4, Leader's Announcements. The Leader has informed me that there are no announcements tonight. Agenda item 5, Licensing Fees and Charges 2026-27. Councillor Tungate, as Chairman of the General Purposes Licence Committee, will you please introduce this report and move the adoption of the recommendations to approve the licensing fees and charges for 2026-27 and that the power to set the scale of fees and charges for Hackney Carriage and private hire licensing be delegated to the General Purposes and Licensing Committee.
Happy to do that, Chairman. I have nothing to add to it. It's all in the paperwork.
Thank you. Councillor Reid, will you second?
Happy to do so, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Members, this is now open to debate. Are there any speakers? None? Thank you. Members, we'll now go to the vote on the recommendations detailed in the report on page 31 of the agenda pack regarding the approval of licensing fees and charges for 2026-27 and a delegation to the General Purposes and Licensing Committee. I will now ask officers to proceed with an electronic vote for this item.
Thank you, Chairman. That vote now being sent to members. The recommendations to approve the licensing fees and charges, with the exception of those taxi fees, to be delegated to the General Purposes and Licensing Committee. The options for, against, the alternative being to abstain. Councillor Harrison, can I just check if you wanted to vote on this one?
When you're ready, Councillor.
Okay, that's with you now, Chairman.
Thank you. Right. Was it only 43? Yeah. Members, that vote is carried. Thank you. Right, we will now go to agenda item 6, Treasury Management Strategy 2026-27. Councillor Alvey, as Chairman of the Audit Committee, will you please introduce this report and move the adoption of the recommendations to approve the Treasury Management Strategy 2026-27 to 2028-29 and to approve a delegation to the Section 151 officer regarding the management of council investments and borrowing?
Thank you. Yeah, I am pleased to recommend this, the Treasury Management Strategy and the delegation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Sullivan, will you second?
Yeah, pleased to second that.
Thank you. Members, this is now open to debate. Are there any speakers? None. Thank you. Members, we'll now go to the vote on the recommendations detailed in the report, set out on page 41 of the agenda pack. I will now ask officers to proceed with an electronic vote for this item.
Thank you, Chairman. Just sending the vote to members on the adoption of the Treasury Management Strategy and the delegation referred to. The options for, against, the alternative being to abstain. Okay, Chairman, that result with you now.
Thank you, members. That vote is carried. Moving on to agenda item 7, Investment Strategy 2026-27. Councillor Elvey, will you please introduce this report and move the adoption of the recommendation to approve the investment strategy for 2026-27?
Thank you. Yes, I would like to recommend the approval of the investment strategy. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sullivan, will you second?
Please second.
Thank you. Members, this is now open to debate. Are there any speakers? None, thank you. Members, we will now go to the vote on the recommendation detailed in the report to approve the investment strategy 2026-27. I'll now ask officers to proceed with an electronic vote for this item.
Thank you, Chairman. Just sending the vote on the investment strategy 26-27 to members. The options for, against, the alternative being to abstain. That now with you, Chairman.
Thank you, members. That vote is carried. Moving on to agenda item 8, Pay Policy Statement 2026-27. Councillor Cleary, as Chairman of the HR Committee, will you please introduce this report and move the adoption of the recommendations to approve the changes to bands 1 and 2 and to approve the Pay Policy Statement 2026-27?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I fully support this policy.
Thank you. Councillor Davis, will you second?
Happy to second, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, this is now open to debate. Are there any speakers? None, thank you. Members, we will now go to the vote on the recommendations to approve the changes to bands 1 and 2 and to approve the Pay Policy Statement for 2026-27. I will now ask officers to proceed with an electronic vote for this item.
Thank you, Chairman. Shortly sending the vote to members. That will be for the approval of changes to bands 1 and 2 and approval of the Pay Policy Statement. The options for, against, the alternative being to abstain. Okay, Chairman, that's with you.
Thank you. Members, that vote is carried. On to agenda item 9, Report of Cabinet 4th of February 2026. Members, dealing first with part 1, I will call each item to see if any member wishes to speak on those matters resolved by Cabinet. Item 1, Corporate Peer Challenge Feedback Visit Final Report. Are there any speakers? Oh, sorry, Councillor Wade.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Part of the feedback, which was mainly positive, let's be quite honest with it, was how we could improve our scrutiny. And that is something that we would look to see this council to try and get to the same standard other aspects of its the response back from that board. And that was universally accepted, that we could improve our scrutiny. And that's something that I believe this council should work on for the benefit of the residents and the future decisions made by the council.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Cleary, do you wish to respond?
Thank you, Councillor Wade. I will note your comments.
Thank you. Item 2, Local Plan Review, Approval of Spatial Options and Policy Direction Document. Are there any speakers? None, thank you. Oh, there is. Sorry. Councillor Miller.
Thank you. In the local plan debate from Cabinet, it says the leader implored all residents and stakeholders to respond to the consultation. a sentiment I heartily agree with. But one of the things that's being fed back to me from Fordingbridge is that residents are finding the online form process extraordinarily difficult to get through. And there is no shortage of desire in Fordingbridge, which is carrying 30% of the not yet allocation of housing, and people want to fill it in. They don't feel an email is sufficient, but they want to work through the form. Is there any way, I'm not asking a question, but I would implore the council to support with that process in any way it can, perhaps with extra communications helping that. I thought I'd make that point.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Are there any more questions? Do you wish to respond to that discussion?
Well, I can only say in response to Councillor Miller that it is a little bit difficult. You do have to insert your name and have to get password and things like that. It's not the easiest of things to do, but it's quite doable, to be honest. And I have put that back to our planning team, and I don't know that there's anything they can do to change that, but it is doable. You have to persevere. You can stop partway through and get back to it, although it doesn't actually say so, but I can assure you that is correct. Okay.
Thank you. Item 3, draft New Forest Creative and Cultural Framework. Are there any speakers? Councillor Rackham. This is a surprise.
Thank you. I'm so pleased to see this has arrived finally. It's been long awaited and it's really great to have that document. So congratulations to the officers who've worked so hard to get that through. I would say, however, the document itself speaks a lot about partnerships, which is fantastic. We do have some really good quality professional culture organisations in the New Forest, and it's fantastic to work with them, with NFDC and the National Park Authority working together with them. However, at some point, someone has to fund all this stuff. All of that takes time for those organisations, and that's their income that you're using up by partnering with them. And although we're actually one of the priority areas for the Arts Council, quite often Arts Council funding needs other support, other monetary support. So the great part of this is that those partnerships are recognised and that this document has finally made it through. The disappointment, though, is that there's nothing really about a budget which will help to bring those cultural events and cultural partnerships to fruition into something for the residents. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rackham. Are there any other questions? Councillor Ward.
Yeah, I was delighted to see this paper come forward and pleased that we've got cross-party collaboration on this. It has been going on for a long while, but I think for the well-being of the communities in the forest, this is the right way forward. There's still things to work on, and the budgets will come, I'm sure. But as I say, I'm delighted to see it come forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Paul, would you wish to respond?
Yes, sure. I'm also share the delight in finally getting this through. Councillor Rackham did raise this point at Cabinet and did get a full response from the officer at the time. This framework is to simplify and help with all manner of funding and applying for funding. So I genuinely believe this is a benefit to the New Forest. And although it's not a district council owned thing, it has been very much led by the district. And I am very, very happy with it.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Moving on to item 4, corporate plan, key performance data for quarter 2, 2025-2026. Are there any speakers? No, thank you. Item 5, community grant funding 2026-27, I guess that is. Are there any speakers? No, thank you. Members, moving now to part 2, I'll call the relevant Cabinet members in turn to move the recommendations for Council. Item 6, Financial Monitoring Report, based on performance April to December 2025 inclusive. This report had 2 recommendations resolved by the Cabinet and also 1 recommendation for Council. Before debating the Council recommendation, does any member wish to speak on the Cabinet resolutions to note the latest budget forecasts and to approve net changes to the capital programme totalling 787,000? None. Thank you.
Councillor Wade.
Oh.
Councillor Alex Wade.
Councillor Alex Wade.
Apologies if this is the wrong section. I just wanted to comment on item 16 in other financial matters of note. It references an incident at Hardley Depot, and I just wondered if the relevant committees or councils will be given an opportunity for more details on what we've done to reassure, mitigate this, and also look at if there's any impact on other depots, because I know other authorities, unfortunately, have been targeted as well with some of their vehicles within Hampshire, and it was just a concern that obviously on our new depot, that obviously there was this incident there and there's a financial impact. So any more details and reports to the relevant committee or panel would be welcome. That was all.
Thank you, Councillor Wade. Are there any other questions? Councillor Heron, would you wish to respond?
Chairman, thank you. Yes, obviously it is of great concern to us. In public session, I'm obviously not going to go into the intimate details, but I would say that the security has been considerably changed and a number of additional methods put in place to do our very best to mitigate the risk. One can never eliminate it, but we have indeed taken many steps towards it.
Thank you. Councillor Heron, will you now introduce this item and the recommendation from Cabinet that the General Fund Corporate Priority Reserve is increased by 1.296 million?
Thank you, Chair. I'm very happy to propose the recommendation as set out on the paper. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Steve Davis, will you second?
Happy to second, Chairman.
Thank you. Members, this item is now open to debate. Are there any speakers? Councillor Rackham.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment and thank the Council again for using the funds to help the Tide Mill. This has been so many years that we've been trying to get Ealing Tide Mill sorted, and it's really good to know that coming forward as we're in quite a vulnerable position, that finally we have appropriate funding for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Members, this item is now open to debate. Are there any speakers? No. Members, we will now go to the vote on... Sorry? Oh, does he wish to... Sorry, Councillor Heron, do you wish to respond?
I will very briefly respond that I think that the Ealing Tide Mill is an exceptional building in this community. We have... In previous carnation in a different portfolio, I have already seen it being repaired once, and then it kind of got forgotten by this council and came round to again. Hopefully now we have a long-term, with Tottenham Ealing Council, we're putting in a long-term programme to ensure that it remains an operational tide mill and gets the support that it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, we'll now go to the vote on the recommendation detailed in the report that the General Fund Corporate Priority Reserve is increased by 1.296 million. I will now ask officers to proceed with an electronic vote for this item.
Thank you, Chairman. Shortly sending the vote to members on the addition to the General Fund Corporate Priority Reserve that you've indicated, the options being for, against, the alternative being to abstain. Councillor Armstrong, can I just check on yours? Thank you. And that's now with you, Chairman.
Thank you, members. That vote has now been carried. Moving to item 7, Asset Maintenance and Replacement Programme and the General Fund Capital Programme for 2026-27. This report has 2 recommendations resolved by Cabinet and also 1 recommendation for Council. Before debating the Council recommendation, Does any member wish to speak on the Cabinet resolutions regarding the endorsement of the schedule of the projects included within the report and appendices and the noting of the programme, committing the Council to expenditure beyond 2026-27 where a project commencing in 2026-27 extends into future years? Are there any speakers? Thank you. To respond? No. I'll go straight on to it then, yeah. Councillor Herron, will you now introduce this item and the recommendation from Cabinet seeking approval of the vehicle and plant replacement programme for a 2-year period covering purchases due in 2026-27 and 2027-28?
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'm happy to propose the recommendation as set out on the paper.
Thank you. Councillor Steve Davis, will you second?
Happy to second, Chairman.
Thank you. Members, this item is now open to debate. Are there any speakers? Councillor Wade.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to clarify that presumably a lot of the vehicle replacement is in our waste area. As the waste change rolled out, we realised that we didn't have enough vehicles. I just want reassurance that this figure will encompass all the required vehicles for a successful rollout in Area 3.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you. Yes, I have to support this, but I would just like to reiterate the situation that happens at Livington Town Hall, where you get significant amounts of vehicles waiting to be auctioned off that are there for a considerable amount of time. It does keep happening quite consistently. I do keep getting complaints from other organisations that use the Town Hall, and I would just like it to be reflected that this is a rolling situation, that it's moved on quickly, because what happens is they're there for quite a long time, they develop moss and everything else, and it's quite a bit of an eyesore. And so I'd just like it to be action that when vehicles and plants are replaced, obviously I understand you don't want to sell them all off at the same time because you want to keep the value high to get the best value for them. But when you do auction these vehicles off, the old vehicles, please do make sure that they're not just left to rot for a long time at public-facing car parks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor Herron, do you wish to respond?
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I'll reassure Councillor Wade that indeed we are looking at covering all vehicles, including those necessary for stage 3 rollout. Hopefully we've got that right, because some of these waste bins are over a 12-month waiting list to come in, so we might have to borrow his car if we've got it wrong. As far as the disposal, Councillor Davies, yes, I would agree with him entirely that we do need to manage that as efficiently and effectively as possible. I hope we do better in the future.
Thank you. Members, we'll now go to the vote on the recommendation detailed in the report to approve the vehicle and plant replacement programme for a 2-year period covering purchases due in 2026-27 and 2027-28. I will now ask officers to proceed with an electronic vote for this item.
Thank you, Chairman. Sending the vote to members on the approval of the vehicle and plant replacement programme as indicated. Your options for, against, the alternative being to abstain.
Someone's not pressed the button.
That's now with you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you, members. That vote is carried. Now on to item 8, Capital Strategy 2026-27. Councillor Herron, will you now introduce this item and the recommendation from Cabinet that the Capital Strategy 2026-27 be approved, including the adoption of the minimum revenue payment statement?
Chairman, as you understand, this is a statutory requirement for us to produce, and I'm happy to present the recommendation as set out on the paper. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Steve Davis, will you second?
Seconded, Chairman.
Members, this item is now open to debate. Are there any speakers? Thank you. Do you want Councillor Howard to respond? No, we go straight on to it. Members, we will now go to the vote on the recommendation detailed in the report to approve the Capital Strategy 2026-27, including the adoption of the minimum revenue payment statement.
Thank you, Chairman. Sending the vote to members on the approval of the capital strategy as indicated. The options for, against, the alternative being to abstain. That result now with you.
Thank you. Members, that vote is now carried. Moving on to item 9, members' allowances, scheme to apply form from 1st of April 2026. Leader, will you now introduce this item and the recommendation from Cabinet that the current schemes of members' allowances be made as the scheme to apply from 1st of April 2026?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I am happy to move this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Steve Davis, will you second?
Seconded, Chairman.
Thank you. Members, this item is now open to debate. Are there any speakers? No. Thank you. Members, we'll now go to the vote on the recommendation detailed in the report to approve the members' allowance scheme to apply from 1st of April 2026.
Yes, Chairman, just sending the vote to members for the adoption of the members' allowance scheme for the forthcoming year. The options for, against, the alternative being to abstain.
Thank you, members. That vote has been carried. Moving on to agenda item 10, report of Cabinet 18th of February 2026. Members, before reaching the annual budget and medium-term financial plan and the budget debate, we will first take the Housing Revenue Account budget item. Item 1, Housing Revenue Account Budget 2026-27. Councillor Steve Davis, will you now introduce the item and the recommendations from Cabinet? These are set out on page 3 of the supplemental agenda published on Monday.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'm delighted to present this and move its adoption. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cleary, will you second?
Absolutely delighted to.
Thank you. Members, this item is now open to debate. Are there any speakers? None. Members, we'll now go to the vote on the 6 recommendations detailed on page 3 of the supplemental agenda. I will now ask officers to proceed with a recorded electronic vote for this item. A reminder that this is a recorded vote.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, as you've set out, that you're voting on the Housing Revenue Account budget as set out from the Cabinet papers, and this is a recorded vote. So the way in which members vote will be recorded in the minutes of the meeting and displayed on the screens when we close shortly. Your options on the vote are for, against, the alternative being to abstain. Councillor Clark, can I just check on yours? Do you want to vote? Okay, that results with you now, Chairman.
Thank you, members. That vote is carried. All right, move on.
Just waiting for the names.
Okay. Right. Sorry. Item 2, Medium-Term Financial Plan and Annual Budget 2026-27. Members, this is the annual budget and medium-term financial plan. I will use my discretion to suspend standing orders to allow the Leader of the Council and opposition group leaders only to exceed the time limits permitted by the Constitution. All other speakers can speak up for up to 3 minutes and once only. We will hear first from the Leader of the Council, who will move the Cabinet recommendations and present the administration's budget. Once seconded, the Leader of the Liberal Democratic Group will speak next and move the alternative budget proposals which were circulated to the Council alongside the Cabinet's proposals as part of the supplementary Council agenda. As has been the practice of this Council, and at my discretion, I will attempt to facilitate one budget debate on both the administration's budget and the single set of alternative proposals put forward in your agenda by the Liberal Democrat Group in order to support the smooth running of the meeting. However, if further amendments are tabled, I may ask the Council to deal with these one at a time for clarity. The budget debate will conclude with the necessary recorded votes electronically once summing up has taken place. 1. Leader, I invite you first to move the recommendations from Cabinet and speak.
Thank you, Chairman. I do wish to move the recommendations recommended from Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Steve Davis, I understand. Oh, she's going to make a speech. Okay. Off you go.
I am delighted to present the Council's balanced budget for 2026-27. Once again, it is a budget that continues to invest in our services, invest in our assets, invest in our people, and invest in our place. At the highest level, it is a general fund revenue budget set at £26.6 million and a general fund capital programme totalling £14.7 million. At a time when local government finances are tighter than ever, especially following on from what has turned out to be a rather unfair funding review by the current government, I am proud to be able to confirm that no frontline or back office services will be reduced for the year ahead. We have produced a fully funded, balanced budget that gives us excellent platform to tackle the difficult medium-term position currently being forecast. In our budget, councillors will note the additional £2 million put into our new waste collection service. We have demonstrated the council's values perfectly in this rollout, demonstrating learning as we entered into phase 2 and now phase 3, empathy as we have listened to our residents and offered additional support where required. Ambition is clear, with this being the single largest service chain that I can ever recall for this council. And fairness, especially for our hard-working crews who no longer have to worry every time they grab a bin bag that something sharp or heavy might cause them an injury. We have listened to what our residents have told us, and through our transformation and ICT work programme have improved self-service functionality so our customers can carry out transactions at a time that suits them. We have increased the coastal maintenance budget for 26-27 by £77,000 to a total of £400,000 so we can continue to be a responsible local authority and seek to do all we can to protect our stunning coastline from the continued threats of coastal erosion and climate change. We must fully recognise, however, that we simply cannot do this alone. We will keep up the engagement with the Environmental Agency, who will need to play a significant role in funding the multi-million pounds required over the more medium-long term. An additional £61,000 has gone into toilet cleaning. Yes, it's not glamorous or headline grabbing, but couple this with the £2 million over the next 2 years in our capital programme for toilet renovations. It's another great example of prioritising our resources in projects and services that will be of real benefit to the largest proportion of our residents and visitors alike. We are investing nearly £3 million next year in replacement vehicles, critical to the front-end service delivery, and have £500,000 set aside next year for necessary improvement and maintenance works to the historically important Ealing Tide Mill. A report will also be coming forward to the Council in the early summer. This sets out our intentions around the delivery of strategic SIL projects. When combined with our annual infrastructure programme, habitat mitigation schemes and budget set aside for arts and cultural projects, we have over £20 million of projects funded through SIL within our 3-year capital programme. We care about the place that is the New Forest, and we want to see the money that has been collected here spent here. We have also invested in our biggest asset, our staff, who do such a brilliant job at providing the front end of customer interaction and satisfaction. And just as importantly, we can't forget the range of staff who provide the often unseen functions that simply keep us going. In line with the People Strategy, this budget is supporting the Digital Skills for All programme launching this year. And we have increased the training budget for our staff to ensure they remain as well prepared as they can be to take the essence and culture of the New Forest into the new council post-April 2028. A clear priority of ours is also to try and keep council tax increases as low as possible. We have done our bit and have imposed by far the lowest council tax percentage increase of all the precipitating authorities on the council tax bill. It's easy to forget that this council's council tax share only equates to around 9% of the overall bill. We play an important role in collecting the council tax for the County Council, the Hampshire Isle of Wight Police and Crime Commissioner, the Hampshire and the Isle of Wight and Fire Rescue Service, and the town and parish councils. Our share for the year at £211.92 for a Band D property continues to represent excellent value for money at just £4 a week. Outside of the general fund, our housing revenue account, funded in the main through housing rents, is also balanced and will spend in excess of £19 million next year on improving and maintaining the 5,250 homes that we own. The opposition will claim that we should be doing more, that we must take the opportunity to spend more whilst we can. Let me tell you, we are doing absolutely everything we can to prioritise our resources and our spend to where it is needed for the most on the services that this council has responsibility for. The budget is in accordance with priorities that have been collectively set by all members of this chamber. And even with local government reorganisation around the corner, the residents of the New Forest will still need to see a responsible and financially sustainable local authority beyond March 2028. That is what you get with a budget set by a Conservative administration. I am extremely thankful to my Cabinet, to the members who have supported them, and to our officers for getting us to this position. Chairman, I fully endorse the recommendations as laid out in the report of the Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Steve Davis, I understand you will second. Will you speak now or reserve your right to speak later in the debate?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm absolutely delighted to second, and I'll reserve my right to speak later.
Thank you. Councillor Malcolm Wade, I invite you now as the leader of the main opposition group to speak and move your alternative budget proposals.
Thank you, Chairman. Now, first of all, this isn't an alternative budget. This is an amendment in addition to the budget put out by the administration. It's an amendment, okay? Not an alternative. Now, Chairman, members, this is the last budget in which New Forest District Council has total control. It is the last budget we can make a difference for our residents before the shadow authority exerts its legal control over our finances. It is our final opportunity to leave a practical, positive legacy for our residents, the old, the young and the vulnerable. And local businesses, let's not forget them. We need to do something for them. These are not in place of the administration budget, as I just said. They are targeted, affordable additions designed to improve the quality of life across the district, as aligned with our corporate plan. Now, our New Forest district contains some of the least privileged parts of Hampshire. 22.1% of New Forest school children are on free school meals, and many will be disadvantaged, which impacts their academic outcomes. The New Forest district has a higher percentage than Hampshire, which is 20.7, and the South East region, which is 20.6. Since 2021, this figure has risen by 5.9%. There are now 4,512 children in poverty in our district. 266 more than the last time when the Lib Dems brought this to your attention for targeted help last year, and you did nothing. That is 1 in 5 New Forest children living in poverty. 1 in 5. That is an appalling statistic. Alongside this, we see rising school exclusions, increasing suspensions, and more referrals to Hampshire's Children's Services, with more children entering care. That is the trajectory of our district, and it demands our attention. In the corporate plan that prioritises people, place, and prosperity, in priority 1, in the people section, helping those in our community with the greatest need. If that description does not fit some of our most vulnerable residents, which are these children, who does it fit? Therefore, the Liberal Democrats propose working with the New Forest Local Children's Partnership and Hampshire County Council to support a sustainable programme for families to try and prevent this intended increase into poverty. Hampshire County Council has confirmed there are plans to roll out Best Start hubs in the New Forest district. It is likely to be in the 2nd or 3rd phase, so probably in the summer. The teams are reviewing the data in line with DFE requirements. This is a significant opportunity to enhance services by integrating Housing Support Hub in the New Forest Best Start Hub. By embedding these services on a sustainable and long-term basis, the hub can provide holistic assistance to families and individuals in need, addressing multiple aspects of well-being and stability within our community. This £500,000 start-up funding will be dedicated to supporting the establishment and early operations of the Best Start hubs, ensuring that the vital services like housing support are accessible to families early from the outset and can be sustained for the future to help the children in our district get out of this poverty situation. Our support for the young is also to set up more youth hubs with a focus on school holidays, providing meal and activity funding throughout the district. we would put 50,000 for ongoing support provided for the youth of our district. This is delivering for the young through early intervention. It is not just morally right, but it reduces long-term financial and social costs for the whole community as well. But although the children of our district are our future, the current adult population also needs our help. Currently, Corporate Plan People Priority 2, empowering our residents to live healthy, connected and fulfilling lives. Our corporate plan. Almost a third of our residents, 31.7%, are over 65. 5.2% are over 85. The retired community tends to have the greatest need of public transport and are the biggest users of hospital services. And yet many communities have no direct public transport to Southampton or Lymington Hospital. So we propose working in partnership with town and parish councils to change that situation. This council would purchase and forward fund for 12 months a health bus to the Lymington and Southampton hospitals. Seed capital of 120,000 for the purchase of the bus and 12 months supporting revenue by NFDC to subject for the revenue support being done by town and parish councils subsequently after the initial year. We also propose a 1 million capital contribution for Warm Spaces, a grant programme, delivered again in partnership with town and parish councils to create additional community spaces that are energy efficient and can be used as warm hubs of the community. In addition, we want to ensure all NFDC community facilities also provide warm space areas where appropriate. This is a preventative public health policy. Modestly borrowing with measurable social return, this one-off capital grant will not just benefit the old, but also the vulnerable and those with trouble warming their homes. Corporate Plan Prosperity Priority 2, supporting our high-quality business base and economic centres to thrive and grow. We know that the engine driving life in the New Forest is employment. And across our unique landscape, many of the businesses are based in the heart of our communities, particularly on our high streets. Our towns and villages depend on small businesses providing vital products and services for residents and a place to meet, and for many, their first taste of employment. Liberal Democrats propose the introduction of an extended business rate relief to encourage businesses to purchase and use the empty shops in our communities, thus supporting local employment and economy. This ongoing revenue support of 100,000 will help grow and sustain the small businesses in our towns and villages, the bedrock of our local economy. A commissioned review. We also want a commissioned review into the economic impact of town centre parking charges, forming a future parking strategy ahead of local government reorganisation. We need evidence-based policy to protect the sustainability of our town centres going forward. Now, the Liberal Democrats are a party who put people first, but we're also fiscally responsible. 770,000 from our corporate priorities reserve. Instead of using that for the public conveniences, supposing you use that from the public conveniences refurbishment, which is then covered by the capital allocation to public conveniences. So we're using capital money to refurbish them and add quality, which is a perfectly appropriate use of the already in the budget capital funding. The ongoing 150,000 does not negatively detect the medium-term forward plan, and the 1 million capital expenditure for warm places is a sum worth borrowing for the positive impact on New Forest residents. And compared to our existing £132.9 million worth of debt, 1 million extra would not realistically overhaul the financial situation. With reference to the risk assessment in the paper, uncertainty exists in every budget cycle. the administration's own papers acknowledge that the short to medium term uncertainty in reference to the current budget, not next year's, the current budget. It's in there, I've read it. This cannot be a reason for inaction. The key point our 151 officer is, I quote, "It is the view of the Council Section 151 officer that the changes as proposed are not of material consequence to the Section 25 statement as included within the substantial proposed budget report." Means we can afford it. These additions are fully within the corporate plan. They do not disrupt the administration's budget, they strengthen it. They are innovative, constructive and fiscally sound. They support children in poverty, provide access to healthcare for elder residents and protect vulnerable households from cold, and help our town centres thrive. This is our final opportunity, members, to act before control passes to the shadow authority. It is our final opportunity to show our residents that we have their interests at heart. It is our final opportunity to invest in the New Forest for the benefit of our taxpayers before finances become controlled from outside this district. Let us leave a positive legacy. Please support these amendments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Wade. Councillor Miller, I understand you will second the alternative budget. Will you speak now or reserve your right to speak later?
I'm very pleased to second the alternative budget, and I will reserve my right to speak later on. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, the administration budget has been moved and seconded alongside the alternative budget proposed by the Liberal Democrat group. I'll now invite speakers to this budget debate. A reminder that each member may speak once for up to 3 minutes. Speakers, please. Councillor Parker.
Thank you. I'd like to commend all involved from the Lib Dem team for their efforts. It's no small undertaking to put together even an amendment, if not an alternative budget, and maybe it's not very politically expedient to say so, but I think there's some good stuff in the Conservative budget as well. There are some very good and well-considered ideas in the amendment, however, and I'm inclined to support it, but I have 3 questions. On Best Start, I'm amused to see the brand reboot for the Sure Start centres. Obviously, somebody's finally done the cost-benefit analysis and it's crept back in, albeit under a slightly different name. Question, am I reading it correctly that without this proposed NFDC alternative budget intervention, this service is at risk currently? The health bus, I think this is a superb idea. I would like to know more about the potential uptake and its proposed routes. Warm spaces, great idea again, but like the Best Start, I'm wondering, will they actually be COVID safe? On health matters, I do feel inclined to acknowledge the elephant in the room. As ever, I am the only masker in the chamber, but not in wider society. This month, a paper was published titled The COVID Generation, The Neurodevelopmental Consequences of In Utero COVID-19 Exposure. In November, from Nature, Distinct Brain Alterations and Neurodegenerative Processes in Cognitive Impairment associated with post-acute sequelae in COVID-19. Neither are pleasant reading, and they do seem somewhat relevant to these facilities. I'm hearing of new cancer cases in my friend group, people in their 20s and 30s, very rare in years gone by, but increasingly less so, it seems. Those who read the scientific literature know that COVID is a vascular disease that causes dysregulation or death of the CD8 T cells, one of the body's major lines of defense against cancer, plus inflammation and the reactivation of latent viruses, which also contribute. There are some 500,000 scientific articles on COVID, over half are peer-reviewed, and none of them say it's just bad flu, mate, or we can't live in fear. To conclude, athletes at this Winter Olympics were masking again due to the COVID outbreak, and billionaires at Davos mandated that attendees should not only test for COVID, but masks were provided and HEPA filtering systems were on and cranked up to the max at their recent gathering. So, final question, perhaps working and middle-class people could be afforded the same privilege. Can we endeavour to ensure that these facilities are COVID safe as well as warm spaces?
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Rackham.
So, again, I'm very proud of what the Lib Dems have done in terms of adding this amendment to the budget. I think there are 3 areas that I would particularly support. The first is the youth hubs. I think young people have not had a good time over COVID and will really struggle into the future. So anything that we can do to help their mental health, I think, would be greatly appreciated. I'm very proud to say that Totton and Ealing has been working on a community health bus, and it would be fantastic to have NFDC's support. It's virtually impossible to get to the hospitals if you don't have a car without at least 2 changes of bus from most places in the forest. So actually, supporting this scheme would benefit so many people, people that work at the hospitals, people that visit people in the hospitals. And finally, we need to see car parking charges review being talked about again. We desperately need that. Our businesses desperately need that. People will be charged a lot less to go to Sherley or Test Valley and bypass town centres like Totton and Ealing and along the waterside. And we desperately need those parking charges reduced. So I'm very happy to see the car parking charges review back on the agenda. I would absolutely like to recommend the alternative amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Woods.
Chairman, members, needless to say, I fully support the Lib Dem additional budget proposals and would like to emphasise the importance of the proposals supporting our town centres and high streets. Town centres rarely fail suddenly. They decline gradually. One closed shop, one lost customer, one policy decision that makes it just a little harder for people to stop, shop and stay. Nowhere is this more evident than in Fordingbridge, where independent businesses are central not only to the local economy, but to the identity of the town itself. When those businesses struggle, the whole community feels it. That is why these proposals matter. The first one, the introduction of targeted business rates relief to encourage the occupation of empty shops. Every filled unit brings footfall, jobs and confidence. Empty premises, by contrast, drain vitality from our high streets and discourage investment. This is a practical, affordable intervention that helps small businesses. Small businesses, the backbone of our town and our villages, to establish themselves and to grow. Second, we proposed our proposal commissioned review of the impact of town centre car parking charges. This is not about abolishing charges by default, nor is it about revenue at any cost. It is about understanding the real-world effects of our decisions. In towns like Fordingbridge, where there is limited alternative parking and competition from out of town and onto land retail, parking charges can make the difference between a customer visiting the high street or driving straight past it. We need evidence. We need to know where charges are working, where they are not, and how they can be adjusted to support local economies rather than undermine them. Our town centres still have strong assets, committed traders, loyal customers and a sense of place, but they need thoughtful support, not complacency. The review will also ensure that as we move forwards, a new unitary authority our parking strategy is informed by local data and experience and not inherited assumptions. These proposals are pro-business, pro-community and proportionate. They aim to sustain town centres and give them hope for their future. I urge members to support these proposals for Fordham Bridge and the town centres of the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jack Davis.
Thank you. When I knock on doors across Lymington, Pennington and the surrounding area, every single person tells me they're worried about the increasing number of empty... Why are you laughing? Number of empty shops on Lymington High Street. Our High Street is being hit by a pincer movement. And if we don't act now... Why are you laughing? If we don't act now, we're going to see even more empty shops in Lymington High Street over the next few months. On one side, we have the County Council's parking meters and the pothole-ridden roads that are more pothole than road, that are driving shoppers away. On the other, the government's business rates hike on April the 1st is a ticking time bomb for our small independent shops. I know we aren't responsible for the roads or the high street parking meters in this chamber, but we can use the powers we do have to extend business rates relief, providing a lifeline for our local independent shops. That's what the Liberal Democrat amendment is asking you to do. The Chief Financial Officer said this is perfectly acceptable in terms of the medium-term financial plan. Are the Conservatives really going to vote against it? Is that because it's being proposed by the Liberal Democrats? I don't think that makes sense. It certainly won't make sense to the shops struggling to survive on Lymington High Street. The Conservatives, as I look around this chamber, seem to have given up. Well, the Liberal Democrats aren't giving up. We're still fighting for our high streets. So I urge the Conservatives, back the Liberal Democrat amendment. Join us in supporting our high street, extend business rates relief.
Councillor Steve Davis. No, we haven't. No, we've got...
I do apologise. I want to speak. I want to remark on Councillor Wade's speech. You mentioned legacy, which is something I'll come on to shortly. The fact of the matter is, members, and Chairman, that we received the best part of 9% of the council tax, and we spend it on services that the district council is here to provide. What we cannot do is pay for further county services that get 70% of the tax, and they spend that on the things that they are due to provide. We cannot borrow money, which is what we're talking about. We cannot borrow money and increase our debt to actually fund county services. It's as simple as that. Our legacy, and it's the legacy word I want to refer to, will be sound finances. That's what we hand over. That's what we will be proud to actually leave behind. So, needless to say, Councillor Wade, I won't be supporting your amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Could I... Councillor Glass, please.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I listened to all of that speech and nearly dozed off, but still. Just take the costing for having a hospital bus. You buy the bus, you've got to have somewhere to park it, you've got to have another one in case something breaks down, you've got to have someone to run it. The costs would be astronomical. It would be cheaper to supply taxis for each person.
I know a guy. He's not very good, though.
Order, please, order.
But honestly, when I hear things like this, sounds wonderful. But it sounds so expensive to carry out that there must be cheaper alternatives, like speaking to the people who run the buses. And on the thing about car parking, well, the reason the bus companies won't run the bus, they can't afford to. Money does not grow on trees, even in the New Forest. But going back to car parks, We've got car parking clocks. You can come into most car parks owned by NFDC and park for 4 hours, free, once you've got the clock. So many of these ideas that we've had come up are absolutely gorgeous, but unfundable. Therefore, unfortunately, I couldn't support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dowd.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very happy to support the Lib Dem amendment, particularly happy to support the Best Start hubs. We know that the County Council is considering increasing the number of hubs in the New Forest, but it will not be anywhere near the number of hubs in the right places where they're needed for all in our community. We know from research that for every pound invested in Sure Start, Best Start hubs, the community gets back £6-7 through services that are not needed later on in that child's life. The social cost of ignoring issues before children get to their first school has a tremendous burden on society. It's not good for the families, it's not good for the children, it's not a good financial investment. We need to support the County Council. Yes, the County Council is duty-bound to provide services, and they will, but will they be in the right places for our residents where they need them? Research has also shown that if the hubs are not within 20 minutes to half an hour of where those people live, they are unlikely to benefit from them. And the people who have the most need in our community are the least able to travel. At the moment, we have nowhere near enough resources for those people. As a responsible council, one that invests in its community, I think we can support the County Council. Yes, it's not one of our statutory duties, but are we really going to cross the road, leaving those people on the other side and ignoring them when we have the opportunity to make something that will help some people into something that will help many more? I support the Lib Dem amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dowd. Councillor Mbala.
Thank you, Chair. Fellow councillors, I strongly recommend you to support the Liberal Democrat amendment. It's not a speech. The statistics on child poverty in our district is appalling. It's disgraceful. And it's sad to see hard-working parents struggling and relying on food banks to put food on the table for their children. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't happen in our country today. Children are the future generation, and we need to do everything we can to support them. And I hope this resonates to all of us here in this chamber, because we are all here, I like to believe, responsible parents. So thank you.
Not yet. Thank you, Councillor Mbala. Can I just remind everyone that we are discussing the full budget, not just the amendment. Councillor Cressell.
Thank you, Chair. I think it was very clever about the parking, because I think that every councillor here would love to have a view of parking. I think we've all got the same problems. The rest of the list is a lovely wish list. You know, I thought this was a budget review, and when I was writing budgets, you had to have a balanced budget and you had to have a total at the bottom that made sense. And for year on year, you come with an A4 sheet of paper with a load of wish list on it. It makes no sense. The figures don't add up, and so therefore I won't be able to vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cullen.
We knew it would come down to money. The Liberal Democrat budget assumptions on income and expenditure have been modelled using the same medium-term financial planning framework applied to the administration's budget. Sensitivity analysis has been undertaken on key variables including business rates, council tax yield and inflationary pressures. Where one-off resources are proposed, they are matched to one-off expenditures or time-limited activity. It's also important to recognise that financial resilience is not achieved solely by holding reserves. Targeted investment to reduce demand, improve efficiency or generate sustainable income can strengthen the medium-term position if governed properly. The alternative amendment do not remove statutory protections, nor do they take reserves below the minimum intended Section 25 statement. Members must weigh risk appetite against serviced outcome, but it's not accurate to characterise the alternative amended budget as undeliverable on the evidence provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cullen. Councillor Clark.
Mr Chairman, thank you. Just a brief point that Councillor Cullen just made there earlier on was that is the money for the toilet refurbishment just money down the pan? But tonight, for our point of view, I'll be Mystic Megany or wrapped up and suggest that our alternative proposals will fail. Because looking back over the last 20 years, 2 decades, then the Conservative administration has, with very few exceptions, dismissed or voted down proposals brought forward by ourselves, ideas on youth provision, transport connectivity, preventative services and even town centre support. All heard, all noted and all rejected, and I read the minutes on them. That approach may have been once politically quite comfortable. It's no longer sustainable. We now sit in a 5-party chamber. Tonight, 3 a.m, I'm sure my colleague Councillor Parker will be delighted with the result in Gorton Denton, I hope. But we sit in a 5-party chamber. The electorate is more fragmented, it's more volatile and far less deferential, and voters increasingly transactional. So when we go out at the weekends, do you go out at the weekends? They ask a simple question: what do I get for my money? Fair question. So council tax rises annually. Household budgets are extremely tight, as Councillor Buller's just said. Residents expect visible competence and tangible outcomes. So if they don't see them, they withdraw support quickly for whoever's in power or authority. The recent wheelie bin rollout brought that into sharp focus. Whatever the technical merits, the lived experience for many residents was confusion and frustration. In a transactional political culture, service perception is political currency. If residents feel standards have slipped a bit, whilst bills have risen, trust erodes. At the same time, the wider political landscape is shifting. And across the country, where long dominant parties, like the Conservatives, have been unable to adapt, voters experiment. So in Worcestershire, after 2 decades of Conservative control, Reform UK became the largest group on a platform of cutting waste and lowering taxes. And within months, faced with the statutory weight of adult social care, children's services and transport costs, which we all will need to think about if we choose to sit in the next chamber, they were applying to raise council tax above 5%. Potentially up to 10, while seeking exceptional financial support. This is what happens when rhetoric meets arithmetic. Local government finance is dominated by statutory obligations. 1% on council tax produces marginal yield against structural funding gaps measured in the tens of millions. Ask Hampshire. Slogans dissolve in the face of spreadsheets. The budget we agree tonight will frame the financial parameters the shadow authority must inherit. They'll be bound by it, it'll shape their room for manoeuvre, it'll constrain their discretion. In practical terms, this is the final opportunity for this authority to determine the financial delicacy it hands over. So I just want to last point, Mr. Chairman. The substantive point is simple. The decisions we take now define the starting position of the new authority. If you don't change, the electorate will ask for new people to represent them.
Councillor Poole.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to concur with what the Deputy Leader said, and I'll add to that by saying I think this is actually quite dismissive of our charitable sector that do a fantastic job already in the community. I can see an awful lot of doubling up. The District Council give a lot of support to our charities across the district who are doing a fantastic job in this area. Particularly across the areas which cover my portfolio. And I really do feel that we keep coming back to the points in the risk assessment here which keep saying there is uncertainty as to whether the county council would have the resource capacity. There is uncertainty whether the town and parish councils would be unable to sustain the provision beyond 1 year. This is short-term gimmicks, not long-term solutions.
Thank you. Councillor Heron.
Thank you, Chairman. Liberal Democrats' final opportunity, and once again, they let us down. Year on year, I have sat this side of the chamber as they present an alternative budget. Year on year, what I get is a wish list, unfunded, unsupported. In fact, to be quite frank, when they started the speech this evening, I wasn't entirely sure whether I'd come to the right meeting. I thought I'd moved into Hampshire County Council because the Liberal Democrats wanted to take over their services. Chairman, I think that Table 1 within their alternative budget clearly demonstrates their intent and their inability to produce a balanced budget. One-off revenue, 620,000 expenditure. Ongoing revenue, 150,000. Capital, just over £1 million. Savings, sorry, can't see that line. Must be missing. That is a typical Liberal Democrat alternative budget. Everything you spend, nothing you put towards being able to afford it. And that, to be quite honest, is how you head towards a train wreck and a requirement to cut services and reduce what you provide for the people of the New Forest. It is a one-off expense of anything that is in reserve with no mind on how to deal with it. If you had looked at our medium-term financial plan, you would have seen that we have some considerable difficulties to overcome going forward. The fair funding review was far from fair. It was a movement of funds away from this area and to other parts of the country. We have difficult times ahead. Liberal Democrats, how are they dealing with that? They're going to try and take over the county council services. Again, we have worked hard. Officers and our staff here have worked hard to deliver a budget that delivers the services we are required to deliver for the people of the New Forest, and again to provide a balanced budget at the end of it. The Conservatives have produced an excellent suggestion through hard work. I strongly recommend that you reject the alternative budget put forward by the Liberal Democrats and support the budget that is not only well thought out but well funded and sustainable.
Thank you. Councillor Tipp.
Thank you, Chairman. I just think it might be worth pointing out that in the existing budget, in our own budget, we do have an economic development department. And we are already helping businesses, we're already helping people who are out of work. And those programmes are already costed and they're in the budget. So I just put that point out.
Thank you. Councillor Alex Wade.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to come back on some of the points, I can't speak as eloquently as anyone else in this room, but you might not agree, as I say, with what the Liberal Democrats have presented today, but when you meet with a Section 151 officer and you go through the finances, you might not agree with how it's funded, but it is funded. That's a fact. The point about relying on the charitable sector, Councillor Paul's right, there's some incredible organisations around our community, but vulnerable people should not have to rely solely on a charitable sector that relies on volunteers being fit and able and funded to do so. One of the best things this council does is contribute, probably not enough, to Citizens Advice Bureau, doing a lot of work that probably isn't under our statutory requirement, but it mitigates a lot of long-term work and issues that would fall under our remit further down the line, which is a lot of what we have suggested here, particularly with supporting with the Best Start Hub. I think some of the grants that this council does to existing organisations is fantastic and proof of why working with the New Forest Best Start Hubs, supporting the hospital transport buses are extremely important. And we all know, most of us are very fortunate enough to be able to drive to get to this meeting. You'd be screwed if you had to use public transport. And to get to the hospitals with an ageing population, with many people choosing to move out of here, and many people, and a lot of developments being older care facilities, which means people come into there, this is going to be an absolutely integral service. To Councillor Tipp's point, when I speak to businesses and they speak to me, the two issues they raise are business rates and car parking. So those two suggestions there have come from feedback from local town and villages businesses, and while I'm sure there's some very good work, they have not seen the positives of the economic development team to their level. They're concerned about their business rates struggling week in, week out, and car park charges possibly driving people away, which we would review on. So these are the matters that come to us day in, day out. Obviously the other thing people talk about is potholes, but that's not our problem. And I have deep concern. This council is made of 48 people who live in the community, represent the community, who knows your towns and villages. Once we get into LGR, we lose a lot of control and ability to think of our residents first. And as I say, leave a legacy, stand up for the people we represent, because I trust these people in this room a lot more than whoever might be on the new authority. And I'm deeply concerned by not using our more positive financial position than larger councils. We're missing out on a good opportunity here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wade. Councillor England.
Thank you very much, Mr Chairman, councillors. Well, it wouldn't be a budget without a tussle, would it? But there are issues that you have brought forward as an alternative, but unfortunately they are issues that are actually already looked after supposedly by another authority. And the issue I have with this is I need to declare this interest. I believe that Lymington are about to enjoy the financial gain of having our public conveniences looked at and upgraded. So that's one thing I wouldn't be happy to sacrifice. And the other thing is, as a town council, we are trying to work with the bus company at the moment to get a bus service. And the councillors who are in the room, who belong to that authority, will know exactly it's not easy. And I don't believe, with the finances that you put forward here, that would be financially viable for a hospital bus. I'd love a hospital bus, but it has to be fully funded, completely checked out. And these issues that are here, I'm not saying they're not here, but they are actually not achievable with that financial contribution, especially for the buses. Thank you very much. And I wouldn't want to give anyone false hope.
Thank you, Chairman. I speak as the leader of the independent, non-aligned group. And I have to tell you that the group has spent an awful long time in going through this budget. In fact, we went through it line by line, comma by comma. And the group has come to a conclusion that we can support the administration in terms of this budget. The reason we have done this, I will come to in a moment or two. I was thinking back, and forgive me, I have been in this place for so long, I have lost count of the number of budgets meetings to which I have laboured and sat through, sometimes with a heavy heart, wanting the whole thing to finish and wanting to go home and have a cup of tea. And that's what it's been a bit like tonight. I recall the first budget meeting that I attended, and I listened carefully to the administration who put forward their wonderful ideas, and at the next election, the Liberal Democrats were voted out and haven't been returned since. Not as leaders and not in control of this particular authority. I think I stand correct. It's very, very easy to come forward with a shopping list of ideas and things that you want. It's easy. We could do it. It could be such a simple exercise. And how are you going to fund all of these things? Now, we could follow the wonderful example of Eastleigh Borough Council, controlled by the Liberal Democrats. Oh, is it very good? I'll tell you what's very good that they're doing. They are borrowing money to pay the interest on their debt. Now, is that any way for an administration to run an organisation? That is what you get when you follow the path of a Liberal Democrat in this area. For the last 2 decades or so, we have, I say we because I was part of that party at that time, we have managed the finances of this district well, stewardship-wise, and in the best interest of our residents. Are you waving at me? Oh, you want me to continue? Oh, that's good.
You have 10 minutes, Councillor.
I cannot support the amendment that the Liberal Democrats have...
Sorry, it was 10 minutes last time, but you've got...
forgive me, Chairman, but I thought leaders of a party had 30 minutes.
Thank you. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'm not sure whether we came, Michael. It's not us. I've listened again, very much politics, but as it normally is. I mean, when I was elected before, I worked with an agency that were going to roll out financial education in all the schools. I'd worked with the head of service for 2 years. They were going to roll out financial education, which would have helped at that stage. Sadly, that was kiboshed by a political person. I've never forgotten that. You work 2 years on something which gets basically kicked the boot out of the forest, and that was no more. There are many ways of helping families and young people. Thankfully, as has been said, we have a number of charities doing that, but it's more than bringing people out of poverty. It is more than just get alongside them. There's a lot more to bring people, to make them whole, shall I say, than just, being sad about the free meals, which thankfully that is being provided, which is a great thing. It's sad that we've got that in society all over, but there's a lot more to making people whole and bringing them up with expectation and even some entrepreneurial spirit. Financial education, that went when that group was stopped, sadly. But I just wanted to bring up something, and I know Jill has said bring that to other committees and everything else. Sadly, I wasn't able to get to the recent cabinet meeting, but I've emailed people who are responsible for cemeteries and had no response. I see a 48,000, every little helps, as one supermarket says. With my knowledge and experience, why are we spending 48,000 on memorials? Because when I was running such a service, we did that in-house, and it's health and safety. Why are we looking at health and safety at this point when that is an ongoing matter in our cemeteries? I have had no answer from anybody else. I'm probably not going to get any tonight. I'm probably the most experienced person on cemeteries sitting here tonight with what I've done. So I have no answer on 48,000, why that's in the budget. I'm sad I haven't been able to say that at previous committees or get an answer from staff about that. I've sent a number of emails. No answer. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you for finishing so succinctly again. Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm sitting here at the moment, and it's just unbelievable that the people across the room here, I don't believe for a minute you're living in the real world. You sit there and you make decisions, but you're not actually listening to what local people are actually saying. I mean, I totally support the Lib Dem amendment as businesses in Leamington and Pennington deserve our support at a time in need. Businesses are closing daily, leaving people out of work, and local family businesses who've been in existence for years. And while we sit here debating and discussing this matter, they're actually discussing closures at this moment in time. And I would urge this council to review any increase in the business rates that have been suggested to keep these businesses alive. This council has the ability to change, but the other side of the room refuses to ignore the Lib Dem's amendments to support the town centres and what they stand for. By reviewing the parking charges, it can only benefit our local high streets, something that I am very proud of, and the people who continue to do business in our high streets, I commend them every day for the situation that they find themselves in that's beyond their control. Pennington is an area where our residents struggle daily. The council tax increase is not helping those already struggling on the breadline, and the food bank's usage are increasingly on a day-to-day basis. We speak about the hospital bus. While some people continue to use the hospital bus as a form of transport to take them to the hospital, it takes over an hour and a half to get to these areas. Again, it takes like elderly people that don't have the transport, it might even take longer. So this is something, again, once again, that I would urge that this council actually look at and support this hospital bus transport. Our residents deserve much better than what we are offering at this moment in time and what we are deciding here tonight. And why we do decide, whatever decision is made, I fully support the Lib Dems on what their decision is, and I will continue to support them on behalf of the local people of Leamington and Pennington. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll start with some congratulations. So congratulations to the leader. The speech was mercifully short. Congratulations to Councillor Wade because of the content. And I'm going to share something with you tonight. Councillor Wade didn't produce that budget solely on his own. What he did is he listened to all of the Liberal Democrat councillors. And Liberal Democrat councillors listen to people. And there's quite a contrast, isn't there, between the leader's speech, which was all about maintaining the establishment, and the Liberal Democrat approach, which is to listen to our residents, reflect their concerns, and we've done that. The people that we represent have issues, don't they? Whether it's cost of living, whether it's running a business in the high street, whether it's getting to that medical appointment without the need to worry about bus connections or whether there's a bus at all. And I'm really proud of the fact that my colleagues, all of which have spoken tonight eloquently, representing the views that they've heard of the residents out there, and you Conservatives have got very little to say other than that tired old rhetoric about, oh, this is just a wish list, oh, you haven't costed it. It isn't true either, because it's all been costed. It's an amendment to your own budget, which has been passed by the Section 151 officer. I'm very, very sorry that it's Groundhog Day once again. We've heard it all before, but the one blessing I have is that although I know we will lose the vote tonight because you've got your instructions and you'll do what you always do, but Chairman, the one crumb of comfort is that we introduce ideas into the chamber which you later adopt and claim as your own.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison. Councillor Penman.
Thank you, Chair. The first thing I'd like to say is that if there's anyone in this chamber that wants a bus to the hospital, it's me. I tried very hard to do that. I don't expect or didn't think that this council would ever give the money for the bus for Totton for the residents. But I'm not speaking on the budget, but what I would say, if you're quite willing to sit down together with me, there is other things that we can try to get that. But we would need costs first. You've got the costs. Then there.
Thank you, Councillor Penman. Penman, we've got to keep focused on this.
Then speak to me.
Right, there's no other speakers, was there? We've got everybody on it, I think. Right, we go to Councillor Miller. I invite you to respond to the debate.
Thank you very much. The thing that I think is missing and being misunderstood is that this budget round is unlike any of the previous budgets that have been agreed. It's the last budget over which NFDC has full and complete control. And therefore, this represents this council's last opportunity to deliver imaginative investment in our area before ultimately our capital revenue and reserves become part of a larger entity which may have different priorities. Over recent years, New Forest District Council has delivered a succession of balanced budgets, but against which we always generate positive outturns. That is lauded by the members opposite as demonstrating strong financial management. But financial prudence is more than simply balancing an account and adding to reserves. It should be about investing wisely in services that directly improve the lives of our residents. Because every pound we raise from our residents that we don't spend is an opportunity cost for us and an unnecessary burden for our residents. The Liberal Democrat additions to the budget put residents first. We propose targeted additional investment in areas that matter to our communities: youth services, tackling child poverty, investment in our high street economies, environmental sustainability. These are not peripheral nice-to-haves, they're not a wish list, they are essential components of a thriving district. And crucially, our amendments build on the Council's sound financial position rather than undermining it. Given our record of predicting a shortfall but delivering a surplus, we have the capacity to do more, not less, for our residents. Investing in youth hubs can help reduce antisocial behaviour and promote opportunity. Supporting community initiatives strengthens our local identity and social fabric, and exploring car parking charging options shows responsible leadership that could deliver increased revenue and community benefit over the long term. The window of opportunity is only available to us now if we show leadership, vision and a commitment to our communities, ensuring every pound spent delivers maximum benefit for local people. Yes, this amendment is ambitious, but it is responsible, it is deliverable, and it's based on the clear priorities of New Forest residents, and I urge this council to support the Liberal Democrat additions to this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Councillor Malcolm Wade, as mover of the alternative budget, I invite you to respond to the debate.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, a couple of things I think I need to correct. First of all, Lymington toilets are still getting refurbished under our plan. We're just taking the money from the capital fund, capital money, which is allocated to public conveniences, instead of taking money of the general fund to refurbish it. Because capital should be used for that job, and that money allows 770,000 in the general fund to help fund some of these. That's the first thing. Secondly, you may not know this, outside the New Forest District Council bubble, there are loads of other districts and boroughs that actually work on social things and partnerships with their county councils to achieve benefits for their residents. Now, I hear we used to get year on year, his budget. I remember a time when somebody, quote, unquote, I wonder if that could be Jeremy, said, Liberal Democrats never come up with any ideas, they just talk about our budget. Well, for a number of years, we've been coming up with some really good ideas. So I can go back a long time in history over that one. But what saddens me, actually, is the lack of empathy in the Conservative group for our residents in trouble. Because we can afford this, it's fully costed, it's not robbing the bank, it's so forth. And as we said earlier, we have millions of pounds of underspends and extra income every year on year. Check the records if you don't believe me. But our residents need help now. And we're about to go in a few years into local government reorganisation. This is our last chance to put something in place that the new authority could pick up and take on. But do you really think being in a district with 1 in 5 children in poverty is right? We have a district of quite a reasonable wealth, but we have pockets of deprivation that are equal to the top 10% in the United Kingdom. And this increasing trend of children in poverty is not acceptable. To me and the Liberal Democrats, it's not acceptable. If we can work with Hampshire County Council, which is what this funding would do, it would accelerate that process of trying to make a difference to the families, lives and these children. They're the future. So what legacy do you want to leave? We helped when they needed it. We didn't care. It's nothing to do with us, someone else's job. Charity can fix it. Not acceptable. We should stand up for our people. And I still say you should support this. It's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wade. Leader, as the final speaker and mover of the original budget from Cabinet, I invite you to respond to the debate.
Right, guys, I'd like to reaffirm that we have our own significant financial challenge ahead of us. We simply can't afford to go into delivering services that we are not responsible for. Taking note of the risks included in the alternative budget report, we could end up with a lovely shiny new bus and no 2-year funding to keep it on the road. Where is the sense in that? It's also clear to me that we would need to stop other projects to enable these additions to be carried through. We can't just simply add more and more and not expect other projects of work to suffer. I, along with my group and my cabinet, want to deliver the toilet refurbishments for the forest, for our visitors, for our residents. I want to deliver the SIL programmes, and I want to deliver a financially sustainable authority. I repeat my full endorsement of the budget as proposed by the Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Members, I'll now ask officers to take the necessary recorded votes electronically.
Thank you, Chairman. The first vote being sent to members is the amendment moved by Councillor Malcolm Wade, seconded by Councillor David Miller. That's the Liberal Democrat Alternative Budget 26-7. So that's the vote being sent first. This will be a recorded vote, the options being for, against, the alternative being to abstain.
So it's for.
So yes, members, just to clarify, it's for the amendment, this one. Just sending that result to you now, Chairman.
Thank you, members. That amendment is defeated.
Okay, members, shortly sending the second vote to you. That's the Cabinet budget, which set out in the report of Cabinet, moved by Councillor Jill Cleary, seconded by Councillor Steve Davis. So that's the vote being sent now. This is a recorded vote. Options for, against, the alternative being to abstain. So for clarity, this is the Cabinet budget. Okay, the result just being sent to you now, Chairman.
Thank you. Members, that vote is carried. Okay. Thank you. Members, this concludes the budget debate. Thank you for all participation. We'll now take item 3, Lymington and Pennington Neighbourhood Plan, making the plan, referendum and decision on adoption. Councillor Tipp, will you now introduce this item and the recommendations from Cabinet to note the outcome of the referendum and to agree that the Lymington and Pennington Neighbourhood Plan be made, adopted as part of the development plan for New Forest District outside the National Park. Councillor Tipp.
Thank you very much. Yes, very happy to do so.
Thank you. Councillor Steve Davis, will you second?
Very happy to, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Jack Davis.
Yes, thank you. I'll speak briefly just to say, firstly, thank you as the Chair of the Neighbourhood Plan Steering Group in Lymington and Pennington. We're very grateful to New Forest District Council's support throughout this process. I'm very pleased that the neighbourhood plan has been passed. I think it's a very good set of policies that we've worked on that protect our town for future generations and means more money for our town, hopefully, from developers, which is always very welcome. I will say that it was the biggest yes vote out of anywhere in the New Forest District and the biggest turnout of anywhere in the New Forest District for those not held on the same day as elections, which is quite frankly cheating because we all know that everyone wants to come out and vote on a neighbourhood plan referendum. So I'm very, very grateful to the Council for their ongoing support and I look forward to us getting lots of extra money for our town. Thank you.
Done that effectively, haven't we? Thank you. Councillor England.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, councillors, for supporting this, hopefully. And I thank any officer that had any input and also to the public who supported it because the town actually is always seen to be very privileged. But as we have heard today, there are large areas of deprivation. And it's time that the town move forward in a cohesive way as they won't have the support of the NFDC in time to come. So thank you very much for actually accepting this on behalf of the people in the community of Lymington, Pennington and Buckland. Thank you.
Councillor McCarthy.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd like to echo my colleagues in thanking the Cabinet and thanking this Council for adopting this plan. It's been ongoing now for quite some time and it's taken up a lot of time from councillors as well as the officers, and I'd like to thank everybody in Lymington and Pennington also. It has been daunting on some occasions, which we were a little bit unsure about, but I think it's going to benefit Lymington and Pennington as a whole in future generations. And again, I'd like to thank everybody in this room that actually supported it. Thank you again, once again.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Members, we're now... Sorry, yeah. Councillor Tipp, would you wish to respond as the final speaker at the debate?
Oh, I'm very happy with the result and very pleased that they've got their referendum result.
Thank you. Members, we'll now go to the vote on the recommendations detailed in the report, to note the outcome of the referendum and to adopt the Lymington and Pennington Neighbourhood Plan.
Thank you, Chairman. The vote being sent to members now to note the outcome of that referendum and to adopt the Lymington and Pennington Neighbourhood Plan. The options for, against, the alternative being to abstain. This is not a recorded vote, this is a regular vote.
Thank you, members. That vote's carried. Moving on to agenda item 11, the 2026-27 council tax. Members, having agreed the annual budget, the council must now pass a council tax resolution. Councillor Heron, will you remove the recommendations in the report? These are set out on pages 161 and 162 of your agenda pack.
Thank you, Chairman. Happy to move the recommendations as set out on the paper.
Thank you. Councillor Steve Davis, will you second?
Happy to second, Chairman.
Thank you. No speakers. Thank you. Councillor Heron, do you wish to respond? No? Don't need to, do you? Members, I will now ask officers to proceed with a recorded electronic vote for this item. The recommendations are out in the report on page 161 and 162 of your agenda packs.
Thank you, Chairman. Yet sending the vote to members, a recorded vote. Once again, this is the 26-27 council tax report. The options for, against, the alternative being to abstain.
Thank you, members. That vote has been carried. Moving on to agenda item 12.
We just wait for the names as a recorded.
Oh, sorry, excuse me, yes. Okay, happy? All right, okay. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 12, questions. Members, there are 7 questions. A reminder, we have a total of 30 minutes for this item. Any member asking a question who is not in attendance will have their question dealt with in writing, as will any question falling outside the 30 minutes. At present, we have 2 speakers not present, so we have Councillor Hilary Brand and Councillor Hayward aren't present. So questions 1, question 5 and 7 will be answered by post, I believe. Yes, so we go to question 2, please. Councillor Mark Clark to the portfolio holder for Planning and Economy, Councillor Derek Tipp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very simple. How many conservation officers did we have 5 years ago, and how many now?
Thank you for the question, which seems ominously straightforward. 5 years ago, there were 2 conservation officers, and now there are still 2 conservation officers.
Yes. Do you have a supplementary?
Splendid, thank you.
Okay, we'll take question 3. This is in error, actually, from Councillor David Miller to the portfolio holder for Planning and Economy, Councillor Derek Tipp.
Thank you. Storm Chandra struck on 26th of January, and since then sustained rainfall has left many parts of our district flooded, roads impassable, farmland waterlogged and businesses disrupted. In Fordingbridge, our residents have again experienced how vulnerable the town is to prolonged rainfall, and for many this is the 4th or 5th 100-year event that they have lived through in the last 25 years. At the local plan meeting on Friday the 13th of February, around 250 residents braved the conditions, which were terrible, hoping to gain assurance as to how this council's potential allocation of almost 3,000 new homes in and around Fordingbridge would avoid worsening flood risk and bringing more infrastructure pressure. So given the very real concerns raised by residents, can you confirm that the council will, 1, ensure that flood mitigation and infrastructure are designed and delivered in advance of or alongside any future development, 2, take the lead on identifying projects which will mitigate the impact of building on farmland and floodplains across the Avon Valley, and 3, use NFDC's strategic community infrastructure levy to guarantee that existing and future residents of Fordingbridge are not left living in demonstrably worse conditions just so that this council might meet government housing targets.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Miller. Let me assure you that the local plan does take flood risk and infrastructure capacity extremely seriously. I can confirm that any future development would only proceed where robust flood mitigation is designed into schemes from the outset and delivered in step with the development. This is a requirement of national policy, and it will be a clear expectation in our plan making. We are already working with partners such as the Environment Agency and Hampshire County Council to understand what wider mitigation projects are needed across the Avon Valley. Part of the local plan process is to identify those strategic measures, and the Council will play a key role in coordinating that work. Regarding infrastructure funding, the Community Infrastructure Levy is one of the main funding streams we have to support areas experiencing growth. As the local plan progresses, we will ensure that the needs of Fordingbridge are properly considered when strategic SIL is prioritised. I would just like to remind everyone that at this stage, no decisions have been made on the strategic allocations for the local plan.
Thank you, Councillor Tipp. Councillor Miller, do you have a supplementary?
I don't have a question in 3 parts. We have my share.
Thank you. We will take question 4 from Councillor Alex Wade to the portfolio holder for Environment and Sustainability, Councillor Geoffrey Blunden.
Please can you confirm in the phase 3 area, particularly since in the last few months, how many properties have requested assisted collections for the new waste collection service, and what % have we rejected, and what consideration are we giving to resident challenges on medical waste additional requirements?
Councillor Blunden.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Alex Wade, for that question. In January, our Get Ready leaflets was posted out to 36,000 households in phase 3 area, and by the 24th of February there were 63 applications for assisted collections which were received. All these have been accepted as the applicants met the requirements. Regarding medical waste requirements, our collection policy is clear that additional waste capacity can be made available in that situation. Members of the public can request this larger capacity online or by calling our customer services team.
Thank you. Is there a deadline for people to...
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Wade. Is there a supplementary?
Just very quickly, thank you, Councillor Blunden. Is there a deadline ahead of the start of the service for people to request additional collections?
So the answer is no, there's no deadline. It's an ongoing situation.
Thank you. We will take question 6 from Councillor Mark Clark to the portfolio holder for Planning and Economy, Councillor Derek Ted.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. Can the Council consider issuing a Section 48 notice to the owner of the Hythe Pier to effect immediate repairs to the structure, given the ferry business is now up for sale, for those that weren't aware, and the public would wish to see the return of the ferry services to a sound and safe landing stage?
Thank you. Councillor Ted.
Thank you, Councillor Clark, for your question. Under the Planning, Listed Buildings and Conservation Areas Act 1990 legislation, which I think you are referring to, a Section 48 repairs notice can only require works that are reasonably necessary for the proper preservation of the listed structure. If the repairs in question relate to the pontoon rather than the listed pier structure, it is doubtful as to whether the Council could legally serve such a notice. If you would like to explore the matter further, particularly in terms of what is or is not included within the listing and what powers may be available, I would encourage you to speak directly with our conservation officers, who will be happy to advise.
Thank you. Councillor Clark, do you have a supplementary?
Well, I do, Mr Chairman. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Tipp. Yes, it's actually reference, of course, the conservation officers. It seems that it's the electrical issues on the pier which are now not allowing residents who may have inscribed boards on the pier with their nearest and dearest. They're unable to get onto it, which means it's not the pontoon. And that's the point. And I wonder whether our conservation officers, given it's Grade 2 listed under Historic England, could go and have a look.
Yeah. I'm sure we can arrange something.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor. Go to agenda item 13, appointment of the Strategic Director, Housing and Communities, report of the member appointment panel. Leader, please will you introduce this item and the recommendation to appoint Sophie Sadek as the new Strategic Director of Housing and Communities.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I fully endorse this appointment of Sophie Sadek as our new Strategic Director of Housing and Communities. She fared exceedingly well in the interview. We had a full cross-party interview stage, so I am hoping at least the opposition will back me on this as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Steve Davis, will you second?
Extremely pleased to second, Chairman.
Thank you. Members, this item is now open to debate. Are there any speakers? Councillor Wade.
Well, Leader, Chairman, in the spirit of consensus and after that request, I will do something to support the opposition and support this issue. So don't worry. Yes, you have my back.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Cleary, do you wish to respond as the final speaker on the debate?
Thank you.
That was it, was it? Well, thank you, was it? Okay. Members, we will now go to the vote on the recommendation to appoint Sophie Sadic as the Strategic Director for Housing and Communities.
Thank you, Chairman. Shortly sending the vote to members on the Strategic Director for Housing and Communities appointment as outlined. Recommendation there, for, against, the alternative being to abstain. That's concluded, Chairman.
Thank you. Members, that vote is carried. Moving on to agenda item 14, amendment to the Constitution, procedure for removing and replacing the leader of the Council. Councillor Steve Davis, I understand that you will be presenting this report. Please will you introduce this item and the recommendations to amend the Constitution, specifically chapters 4/5, which is the procedure for removing and replacing the leader of the Council.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'm absolutely delighted to present this. This has been discussed with the leaders, and I think the recommendations speak for themselves. So I'm very happy to move their adoption. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Malcolm Wade, I understand you're second.
Yes, Chairman, to facilitate a more appropriate process and bring our policies up into the 21st century, I'm happy to second it.
Thank you. Members, this item is now open to debate. Are there any speakers? None. So that's it. Members, we will now go to the vote on the recommendations to amend Chapter 4/5 of the Constitution. This will remove the automatic trigger following a change in the political balance. It will also clarify the provisions for bringing forward a motion to remove the leader, inclusive of a new threshold of at least 1/3 of the total number of council members. Someone's not voted.
I think members were busily voting there. We've just got a couple more to come in.
I think we're done.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you, members. That vote is carried. Moving swiftly on to agenda item 15, memberships of committees and panels. Do the groups have any changes to make to their nominations to committees and panels? Councillor Paul.
None, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Malcolm Wade.
Oh, we're all happy serving the community in what we do, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Wade. Councillor Armstrong.
No change, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Richards.
No change, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a very long evening. Agenda item 16, any other items which the chairman decides are urgent? No? There are none. Can I take the opportunity to thank you all for working through this very busy evening's important business, and I declare the meeting closed.